the Grant and the Carolines, Krishna, Sevika, Karina, and Prabhu. We're very, very happy to have you. So before I start speaking, I'd just like to say some prayers. We're all coming from very different places in the boroughs, the universe, the world. So we can always. Some people are coming from far, some people are coming from near. So I always like to kind of set a right mood. So we offer some auspicious invocations. चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी आश्चर्य देशतारिणे श्री कृष्णा चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे So thank you all for coming. So today we're going to be speaking about being Krishna confident. So I chose this topic for a very specific reason. I like speaking about Krishna, not this one. His name is also Krishna. So so we're going to speak about it from the Bhagavad Gita. Has everybody heard of the Bhagavad Gita? A little bit about it. So we're going to speak about what Krishna says about confidence coming from the Bhagavad Gita. And so I'll start with a question. The question is tonight, do you lack confidence in something? In something that do you lack confidence? Raise your hand. Please raise your hand if you're confident. Is it yes or yes? Yeah, of course. So some people, they say that, what's the biggest fear that people have? And it's, what's the biggest phobia? You know? Public speaking. And then comes death in that study. So public speaking, if you lack confidence in singing, speaking on the mic, maybe somebody, is there anybody feel free to share something they lack confidence in? Yeah.
I lack confidence in playing cartels.
Playing cartels. No, you're doing pretty good. You're doing pretty good. Anybody else lack confidence in anything? Yeah.
Playing guitar.
Playing guitar.
Like, feel nervous, like playing in front of people. Or, like,
You're supposed to play today,
I know.
actually. I hope you didn't get cold feet.
Well, I can play after.
Yeah, of course. You're always welcome.
Confessions.
One more? Anybody lack confidence in anything?
Fear of being rejected.
Fear of being rejected. It's like now I'm gonna get to. It's very good that you're saying that, because what is the common thing that we see that challenges our confidence in kind of whatever we do? It is failure. You said rejection. I would say failure. The fear of failure or that actually starts a lack of confidence. And why do you fear failure? You're meditating on what could go wrong, right? So what if I don't sing well? When I sing, I'm just like, ah! Or what if I say the wrong thing when I'm public speaking? Or even in life, if you don't have the confidence to go through life, you actually fear a lot of the things that you could have potential of, by judging on what other people have to say, right? We all have fear of failure, right? I'm not gonna do this because I'm afraid of what people will say. I'm not gonna sing because what if it goes bad? So actually, 90% of failure is judged on other people's thinking, on other people's perception of you. And I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing. Having some level of care about what people think is actually quite good, but if you have it too much, it really over dominates your life. So I'm going to speak about a little classic signs of people who lack confidence. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Yes. See if it's kind of you got to have confidence, sir. So you see if any of these catch you. Hare Krishna, Christina. Nice to see you. So we have a few things. See if any of these apply to you. Someone who lacks confidence and someone who has confidence. So I would say the first thing that I've a characteristic of someone who lacks confidence, they seek validation all the time. If they try to do something new, or if they're trying to do something, how's this? Am I doing good? They're always seeking validation for whatever they're doing. Now, someone who has confidence, what is that? What do you think they will do? They will.
Just do it.
They will do it, and if they really have confidence, they give validation and appreciation for others' attempt. If someone instead of let's say I have the drum, I play the drum sometimes. If someone picks up the drum who's maybe a little bit newer than me, I might, if I lack confidence, I might go and criticize them. Hey, this is not how you're supposed to play, man. You're hurting my ears, But instead, it's happened to me before. But if you have confidence in your playing, you might say, "Oh, wait, actually, you're actually doing really good. You're doing really good in your mridanga playing, and I really appreciate what you're trying to do." And you may, if you really have a relationship with them, you say, "Okay, maybe I can help you, teach you a new beat." Now, is that a better attitude to have? Yes.
Yeah.
I need a verbal yes. Like an airplane. Like an airplane. When you get on the seats. The emergency seat. Give me a verbal yes. Yeah, I don't want to hear myself speak for like 45 minutes. That'll bore you guys. I'll bore myself. So another thing which lacks confidence. They're defensive when someone points something out. Now let's say I'm playing the drum. Let's just use that as my catch-all example. Playing the drum. If someone who is a little bit more experienced than me comes and says, "Oh, you're not really good at playing you're messing this beat up," then you're like, me messing things up? Couldn't be. I'm perfect. I'm really good at everything that I'm doing. And how dare you actually correct me about doing something? That is of somebody who lacks confidence in what they're doing. Now, someone who has confidence, they're open to feedback. They're open to instruction. They realize that they're not the supreme know-it-all, the supreme being. They don't know everything. And my spiritual teacher, he gives us a mantra that we can always meditate on. And I can give you this mantra for a price. I'm just for I'll give you the mantra. I'll give you the mantra, but you got to repeat it after me, and you have to promise me that you're going to use it in the next 24 hours.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Anybody who says no, just close your ears and say, okay, repeat after me. I live to be corrected.
I live to be corrected.
Right? No, don't repeat that. So now you're going to repeat the whole lecture. So when you say I live to be corrected, that takes all the pressure of having to overperform and having to be perfect all the time. When you just realize that you're just a fallible little insignificant spark in like a certain amount of time you have on this earth, then you say, okay, I'm able to make mistakes. I'm okay to do that. It's fine. It's fine to admit that. Like if you, sometimes when you make a mistake and then you're like, no, I didn't make that mistake, and then you say a lie to cover up that mistake, and then that lies goes bigger. It's easier just to admit, okay, I messed up. What do you want me to say? So that's someone who has confidence versus lacks confidence. One more. They always stay in the comfort zone. Someone who lacks confidence always does not want to venture out into kind of the unknown. Why? Anybody want to guess?
Scary.
It's scary. They lack confidence. It's fear. They lack confidence because they will fail, right? Their fear of failure. Now, someone who has confidence is always ready for an adventure and ready to change things up. They're always ready to try things that are new. So even you guys might be trying something new right now by coming to this program. You can see that it's very you guys and anybody who's come to this program. What made you even come in the first place to this type of program? It took some confidence, So everybody has, but I'm not saying that everybody can always stay in a level of high confidence at all times. Even devotees of Krishna, even Krishna conscious people who are on a very high spiritual understanding, they also have this issue. And the classic example is in the Bhagavad Gita. So a little bit of context, if you don't know about the Gita, there's two main characters of the Gita. There's Krishna and there is Arjuna. Arjuna was a warrior, and basically his own family had committed so many atrocities of kind of like not taking care of women, not taking care of children, unlawfully taking advantage of people, not respecting elders. So all these things. So Arjuna had to go and fight his own family. Either he fights his own family, he's in a dilemma. Now see if you can solve the equation. Now either he fights and he's on the side of religion and he's on the right side of history and he fights, but he kills his own family. He said, how can I inherit a kingdom that is watered with the blood of my ancestors? That's a quote from the Mahabharata. Now, but what if Arjuna in the beginning of the Gita, he says, I want to retreat. I want to go back. I don't want to fight this war. Because what is the use of a kingdom that is built on the blood of my ancestors? Difficult situation? Kind of a rock in a hard place, right? So Arjuna's confidence is majorly up and down. If you thought public speaking was bad, by the Mahabharata, it said there's over 640 million soldiers on the battlefield. That's a lot of zeros. So lack of confidence in this circumstance is so understandable. And Krishna spoke many, many things to regain Arjuna's confidence. So we're going to be reading one verse from the Gita, which is actually in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. So up to 10, Krishna is speaking to Arjuna. There's like audio learners and there's like visual learners. Anybody an audio learner? Anybody can hear something and just like get it. Anybody a visual learner? They just like they need to see things, Yeah, I'm myself a visual learner. Actually, I'm not really good at learning anyway. audio, visual. Sometimes you got to hit me across the head. Like, hey, come on. So Krishna, up to this point, from when he starts speaking in chapter 2, he's just giving Arjuna this audio lessons. And Arjuna's getting it. Now Arjuna wants to come into a visual learning where he wants to see Krishna's universal form. He wants to see this form that is basically the whole universe combined, which is like an amazing form. At the end of the 11th chapter, Arjuna's like, I do not want to see this horrible form, because he's seeing like different types of things. And actually, I don't know if anybody saw Oppenheimer, the movie Oppenheimer. Well, Oppenheimer was a famous scientist who was most famous for developing the atomic bomb. And when they first, in the Manhattan Project in New Mexico, when they first dropped the atomic bomb, the sight was such a gruesome kind of sight. He quotes the Bhagavad Gita and he says, it is like death personified. And this is Arjuna speaking about Krishna's universal form. And then he says, actually, it is like 10,000 suns rising at the same time. When Arjuna saw this, he said the only thing that can be even able to describe this is 10,000 suns rising at the same time. Now, have we even seen one sun? Have you seen the sun? Yes? From the distance. Okay, from a distance. I don't think you'd be sitting here if you got a close-up view. But actually, I'm going to argue against that, because I don't think any of us have seen the sun. We've seen the effects of the sun. Because remember we had the eclipse this last year. You can think about back May. I don't know when the eclipse was, April, May, something like that. So we had the eclipse this year, and then you saw the libraries were distributing the glasses, and they said, don't look at the sun. Why? Because you'll be blinded by it. You'll be actually blinded. So we can look at sunlight on our hand, but if you ever go look at the sun, you'll be blinded for life. So the argument is that you have actually never even seen one sun. But Arjuna is making the point that this is 10,000 suns rising at the same time. This is how amazing this form was. And it's kind of trippy also. Arjuna sees like all the soldiers on the battlefield dying, and then he sees himself speaking to Arjuna and Krishna. It's kind of like a trippy like a mushroom type thing. Like you see yourself talking to Krishna, and then he sees himself talking to Krishna, and then he sees himself like again and again and again. So we're gonna take a section from there in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, and we're gonna read it. We're gonna read it together. So if you can, any Sanskrit. We actually have a Sanskrit pronunciation class this Saturday, if anybody wants to practice. If you have a little brushing up to do on your Sanskrit, I know not all of you are perfect in it. So don't worry, I'm not either. So we're going to recite the Sanskrit. We're going to do it all together, and we're all going to be fine. So we'll say it together. I'll say it once, just so you guys know the tune, and then we can all try to say it together. Tasmat tvam uttishta yasho labhasva jitva shatrun bhungshva rajyam samridham mayevate nihata purvameva nimitta matram bhava savyasachin. Together. 3, 2, 1. Tasmat tvam uttishta yasho labhasva jitva shatrun bhungshva rajyam samridham mayevate nihata purvameva nimitta matram bhava savyasachin. Wow, you guys are good. You guys are really good. You never thought that you'd be coming here tonight and speaking another language. This is a language that's over thousands of years old. It's actually the oldest language in the world. And a lot of language actually come from this language. So let's read what the meaning is. So, Krishna, why don't you have a big loud voice. Why don't you read the translation for me?
Therefore, get up, prepare to fight and win glory. Conquer your enemies and enjoy a flourishing kingdom. They are already put to death by my arrangement. And you, O Sabyasachi, can be but an instrument in the fight. So
Krishna, unlike, you might think, if you're in the middle of a battlefield, you might say, is he supposed to fight or not fight? Krishna saying, nah, you got to fight. You got to fight for dharma, for just moral principles, because the other side was just so atrocious that you can't just sit back down and just like become a monk and go to a temple and live there, like some of us. So let's read the purport. I'll read the purport to you guys. Savya Sachin refers to one who can shoot arrows very expertly in the field. Thus, Arjuna is addressed as an expert warrior capable of delivering arrows to kill his enemies. Just become an instrument, nimitta matram. This word is also very significant. The whole world is moving according to the plan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Foolish persons who do not have sufficient knowledge think that nature is moving without a plan and all manifestations are but accidental formations. There are many so-called scientists who suggest that perhaps it was like this or maybe like that, but there's no question of perhaps and maybe. There's a specific plan being carried out in this material world. What is this plan? This cosmic manifestation is a chance for the conditioned souls to go back to Godhead, back to home. As long as they have the domineering mentality, which makes them try to lord it over material nature, they are conditioned. But anyone who can understand the plan of the Supreme Lord and cultivate Krishna consciousness is most intelligent. The creation and destruction of the cosmic manifestation are under the superior guidance of God. Thus, the battle of Kurukshetra was fought according to the plan of God. Arjuna was refusing to fight, but he was told that he should fight in accordance with the desire of the Supreme Lord. Then he would be happy. If one is in full Krishna consciousness and his life is devoted to the Lord's transcendental service, he is perfect. So a lot to unpack there. So anybody have anything that they remember from the purport or the translation that just like, I'm going to put it in my pocket and take it home with me? Yes.
If you're in Krishna consciousness, you're perfect.
Perfect. You're perfect. Conscious of Krishna, you're perfect. Anything else?
That everything is already predestined, is your role to act it.
Yes. We're going to get into this thing that Krishna says, nimitta matram, to be an instrument. So in this world, people try to tell you, there's like many sutras, like meditations people do, to be confident in your abilities. They have like affirmations. You've heard of affirmations? Like they're coming up, in December, you're going to have to write some goals for the next year. And in January, you're going to forget about them. In February, you're going to feel bad about them. And then you're going to find your notebook in June. And then another whole year is going to pass. And then so not that these things aren't very useful, but these things of themselves don't guarantee anything. It's actually a very good step that, like to have a notebook and to write down some goals for I write almost every other day. I write like reflections. I have a notebook, I have a journal, just to understand my thoughts, what I'm thinking about. But those things are only pen to paper or ink to paper if they don't actually have any steps to kind of guarantee those goals or actions to kind of guarantee them. Does that make sense? So the material world tries to kind of build confidence by mental adjustment, intellectual arrangement, inflation of our own self-potential. But that confidence, Krishna is saying, is not very sustainable. Like, I'll give you an example. Like Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali says, I am the greatest. I said that even before I knew I was, So, but as we can see that every fighter, like someone in the ashram, in the monastery was telling me that they were just walking by and everybody on Saturday, there was a big fight of fighters. I think it was not Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. Two people that I never thought would fight. Jake Paul actually grew up in the town right next to me. So that's my claim to fame. But, like this, Mike Tyson, when he was younger, he could have probably, but he's like 58 or something like now, right? Or so 50s, 60s. but and it just went down. So the material world, they say, is to build confidence in believing in yourself, but in Krishna consciousness, we build confidence by trusting in Krishna, by trusting in divine power. That's very powerful. And to understand that I'm just simply an instrument. I have to just do my little duty in this world, my whatever little duty I have. And not everybody's duty is the same. Some people are lawyers, some people are doctors, some people are engineers, some people are little monks. Even we can have a little impact in the world. Not little monks, I'm a big monk, but some people can do that. So if I do my part if we just learn this lesson, if I do my little part in this whole thing, Krishna is backing me up at every moment. This world has a specific plan for me, like as in the purport this was one of my favorite sentences. The cosmic manifestation is a chance for the conditioned souls to go back to Godhead, back to home. So if we just understand that this whole world is engineered to actually teach us something, and we walk in this world as lifelong learners. If we go in the world as lifelong teachers, that I'm not to be taught anything, then you go back to that point of I live to be corrected. The world has a way of humbling those who are not humble, right? Have you experienced it? Someone at the peak of their career just immediately loses everything, who is prideful. Or those who are building, like my father used to say something very nice. He said, "How do you humble somebody who's very happy? How do you bring into equilibrium someone who's very happy and someone who's very distressed? This too shall pass. Someone who's very happy, they're going to be in distress. Someone who's very distressed will get into happy. This is the equilibrium of life." So in Krishna says something very beautiful later in the Gita, 1873. He says, "Nashta moha smriti labdha tat prasadan mayachuta sitosmi gata sandeha karishye vachanam tava." He said, Arjuna, at the end of the Gita, Krishna, this is the difference between a lot of different books and what Krishna is saying. Krishna will never say in the Gita that I will cast you into the depths of hell if you don't follow in these footsteps. He's saying Gita. He's in Krishna. He's saying in the end of the Gita. He's saying, I have taught you everything that that you need to know. Now, karishye vachanam tava. Do as what you see fit. So imagine a life that you have no doubts, you have no fear, you have no inhibitions, that you can completely, after you take up to Krishna's plan, you've just completely just taken up to that plan, and you have no, what is that word? FOMO. Your fear of missing out, you have no FOMO. My duty is to align myself to Krishna's plan. So there's two basic assumptions in this I'm saying, and this is going to get very practical. So there's two assumptions. Either I'm in control or Krishna is in control. So let's see how you may react if I'm in control. So if I'm successful in life, what are some things that may come up if I think that I'm in control and if I'm successful in life? You guys understand the question?
If you fail, it's your fault.
It's your fault. That's completely on me. Anything else? Will you become humble? No. You become super prideful, right? Greedy. But if I immediately it's not spiritual life, for example, it's not just what we say is actually that we don't attain, in one way, there's not really a back to Godhead when we say that phrase. It's not really like a place. It's more of a consciousness. So everything we do in life is actually just a change in consciousness. That's why when Srila Prabhupada came to New York, he said, don't take away anything. Just add Krishna into wherever you're at, one of our senior monks in the monastery, he's been a monk since 1978, coming up to 50 years now. And I asked him, when's the first time you heard of Hare Krishna, And he said, when I was 9 years old, my mother took me to a musical on Broadway called Hairspray. Had everybody seen Hairspray? So he said, I guess it was different from maybe it is the same now, but he said that there was a scene at the end. So apparently the person who wrote Hairspray had met Prabhupada, and Prabhupada, and he said, how do I make my play that I just wrote more about Krishna? And he said, just add the mantra somewhere in there. So he's like, okay, I'm just gonna add the mantra in there. So here's our little, Ram Roy Prabhu, if you know him. He's sitting in his seat, and then the play is almost over. The last scene, the whole crowd, all the actors come out with no clothes on, and they chant Hare Krishna. They chant Hare Krishna. That's the final scene. And Ramana Prabhu said, that is the scene that I remembered, that I'm like, that this is very special. He said, that is the first time I heard Hare Krishna in that play. So imagine, we have just by someone adding Krishna into their already directed play, we have a monk that's been practicing for about 47 years now. So that's the power of just one thing. So, okay, back to the point. I am successful in life. What if I fail in life? When I say, like you said, that fear of failure, I'm in control. What if I fail? What would my reaction be if I'm in control?
It's my fault.
It's my fault. I'd be disappointed. I'm dejected. I'm completely useless. I failed. Like, remember the SATs, maybe SATs, ACTs. When you fail at that, you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm completely useless. Now, if we just say that Krishna's in control,
Like more determined.
More determined. I accept Krishna has a greater plan for me. There's optimism. I tried my best. I'm leaving the rest. Okay, last scenario. I have to face a challenge. Give somebody new. Someone say, if I'm in control, if I have a challenge, what would my initial thoughts be? Nervousness, overwhelmed, maybe some stress. Maybe I'm inadequate. Now, if I go that Krishna's in control,
there's not any challenge.
I'm happy. I'm confident. Krishna's got my back. I'm going to try. And if not, Krishna's got my back. Now, I'll give you an example. If anybody from Kolkata, this is a famous building in Kolkata. It's called Victoria's Memorial. So this is now a train terminal, right? No, it's just a memorial. Is it a church? It's just a monument. You just go and visit. So now Prabhupada was driving. This is Prabhupada. When I refer to Prabhupada, he's pictured. He's our guru, and so he was driving around Victoria's Memorial, and then Prabhupada would tell his disciples, when I was young, I used to climb all the way to the top until I saw Victoria. Like on the top there's a statue of Queen Victoria. And then so they said, Prabhupada's students said, you must have been very brave. And Prabhupada said, yes, I was brave then, and I am brave now. If I am not brave, how could I have come to your country at 70 years old with absolutely no money, with no plan, and I've come because I am brave because Krishna, I'm trusting Krishna. So if you know a little bit about Srila Prabhupada's story, his story is very amazing. I won't get into too much of it, but Prabhupada came here at the age of 70, not 17, at the age of 70 in 1965. And he suffered 2 heart attacks on the ship here. And he got one instruction from his guru and said, you should go to the West and share them about Krishna consciousness. Back then, when Swamis were coming from India, they would stay, when he actually came to New York City first, that's why it's so special, this place. When Swamis would come here, they would always go on uptown, they would be called uptown Swamis. like by Central Park. They would hang out like super like rich areas. So when Prabhupada came here, he had actually not much money, and he would just kind of like no, he would stay. Where did he stay? The Bowery. Absolutely, like with derelicts, with people who chased him away with LSD on LSD trips and so much. And what was his prayer when he came to America? He says, "Aniacho jadi Prabhu, nachao se mate, nachao Prabhu, nachao se mate." He says, "Oh Lord, I'm like a puppet in your hands." Nachao means dance. Make me dance. Make me dance. I do not know why you have brought me here. Please make me dance. So just see if you're in that consciousness of Krishna, that he is in control of everything. This becomes like a transcendental drama. It becomes like a transcendental dance with Krishna in your power. Now it's very easy for me to sit on my comfortable seat and say, just take Krishna's plan on everything, you know? And it's not, is it easy to take Krishna's plan?
No.
Krishna says sometimes, he says he's the most trickiest person sometimes. And there's a place in India called Vrindavan, and the culmination of the Gita, Krishna says this word, Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mam Ekam Sharanam Braja. The word Vraja here, this verse translates to abandon all varieties of religion, surrender unto me. I will, and don't worry about any sinful reactions. I will take care of you. Do not fear. So the word Vraja here actually, a lot of people say it refers to Vrindavan, but Vraja actually means movement. Movement of my desires to Krishna's desires. That is actually the highest form of spirituality. But I can say for myself, I'm not there yet. I'm not completely there. So I want to give you 4 tips that have helped me kind of dovetail how to be more Krishna confident, you know? So the first one that really helped me was becoming very reflective. Being very reflective in my life. So if I reflect upon my life, and if I just think about my life from start to now, I can see Krishna's hand at every step. Krishna was moving things in a certain way. The divine was moving things in a certain way that brought me to here in this basement of this temple, sitting with you all right now. So live life going forwards, but you can only understand life looking backwards. So the first way that I would say to get faith in Krishna's plan is to see what his track record is. What is his track record? If we're going through a difficult situation, for me, I always understand in my life, Krishna would never put me in a situation that I can't get out of. You know, and sometimes I'm in a really tough situation. I'm just thinking, Krishna, help me out here. And sometimes I'm not getting a response, and I almost reminder, a teacher never answers a question during a test. You know, he teaches during the classroom, but during the test he'll be like, okay, answer the question. So seeing Krishna's presence at every step, I can just see in my life. It's just my father was sitting at a restaurant called Udupi Cafe. It's an Indian vegetarian restaurant. It's popular all over the world. And some devotee happened to put a Bhagavad Gita on the table. And it was just random. He happened to put it at many restaurants. And my dad saw the Bhagavad Gita. Then he started reading it. And he's like, he asked the restaurant owner, can I take this book home? Starts reading he read the whole Gita cover to cover. Actually, I think it was a Science of Self-Realization. He read it cover to cover, and he told my mom, now you should read. And so my mom doesn't read books. She doesn't like reading books, but she read that book. And she was completely, was so totally convinced of this kind of Krishna consciousness, Krishna conscious movement. I, on the other hand, I was 12 years old, and I completely hated everything about Krishna. I've told you guys are joining a cult. You guys are weird. I don't like meditation. I want to play football. And yeah, sayonara. Hated all you guys. So then, actually, what happened was my true story. My parents started bringing home these great dinners on plates, and I'm like, wow, this stuff's pretty good. This dinner is really good. I hope the dinner is good tonight. So the stuff is really, really good. And then so I just said, okay, I'm kind of interested now. But there's always something that was holding me back. I used to be a football player. All through, like, pretty much most throughout college, I was a lineman. I was a offensive lineman. You know those big guys that kind of smash heads? You know, maybe that's why I'm kind of a little crazy now. I just,
State, right?
I'm at Ohio State, yeah. Ohio is like a big, like, football kind of place, you know.
Yeah.
Like there'd be guys across from me who were like 300 pounds at 17 years old, and I had to spar with them all day, you know. So I was kind of doing that, and I used to always ask my parents, and all the other kids used to make fun of me. Why do you not eat meat? Why do you not eat meat? Because we were vegetarian our whole lives. I kind of grew up in an Indian background. Meat has protein. Meat is, you're gonna die if you don't eat meat, you know? It's completely impractical. And my parents were like, none of our generation, we're living right now, Hari. We're not dead right now. So I always used to say, you know, and this is my 12-year-old kind of, I didn't really understand the economic systems of, if I buy meat, I'm actually contributing to the slaughter. So I didn't really understand that. I'm like, the animal's already dead, you know? Like, it's a sacrifice. I would be more offensive to not eat the meat because it's already done the sacrifice. And my parents are like, do whatever you want. So one day during lunch, there was a piece of sausage. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna eat it. So I took a bite and I ate it. And then I threw up for the next 2 hours in the nurse's office. And because when you go back to a diet that you're not used to, you're like, if you've ever been to India, if you ever anybody traveling to India, eat light the first time. People have horror stories. They eat the street food and they get super, super sick. So I know he's going to India for the first time. I'm already preparing, like, we're going together on the same flight. I'm preparing like 2 days ahead so he just gets sick and gets out of the way, and we can start our trip. So so I threw up, and that same night I went to a program with a monk, and he was such a dynamic monk. He was so nice, so kind to me, and I asked him the same question. I asked him, why should we not eat meat? I said, the chicken's already dead. It's sacrifice, already done. And he gave me a beautiful example that I still remember to this day. He's speaking from the point of view of karma. He says, if 3 men or women, they go and rob a house. Men usually rob the house. But if 3 people go and rob this house, and if 2 men go inside the house and 1 person stands outside the house, now when the police catch all 3 men, will the person outside not be arrested? Yes or no? No. Why?
This is part of the initiative.
So yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah, he will be arrested. So that was the example he gave me. And then so he said, similarly, even though you are not actually killing the animal, you are taking part in the whole operation. And I had like a universal form moment. I'm like, phew. Like, it was just such an amazing way of looking at it. And like that, somehow Krishna made a path for me. He protected me throughout high school. He protected me throughout college, and all the things that I did to where I am now. And it's just such an amazing. So in this way, Krishna has put things in you, and has paved a way for you to think different. New York City has 8 million different people, and we have this group of us who have just thought to think just a little bit different from everybody else. You could be watching Netflix, you could be watching TV, you could be doing whatever you want. But you thought to think a little bit different and to invest a little bit in yourself in a way that most people wouldn't have. That is some way that Krishna has actually come in your lives. Now, 2, hang out with people who have faith in Krishna. I like this point. That we have a lot of potential, but when someone has confidence in Krishna, they know they're always whispering, "You can do it." There's a famous like Arjuna and Krishna. Krishna's always telling him that you can do it. I have faith in you. There's a famous story in the Ramayana, which is a famous story from. There's a monkey warrior who did not know his powers, and he had all this unlimited power that he had. It was Hanuman. Hanuman had so much power, but he didn't know he had power until somebody came and told him, you got some powers, right? You have some powers, right? So you need people in your life that are just like your supporters, that are not like always trying to compete with you, who are always looking after you for your benefit. Have people on your corner of your fight. And Prabhupada had the same way. He said, at 70, I never thought I could do this. But he said, my guru, my teacher, had incredible faith in me and put that faith in me. There's no greater gift in life than one who has faith in you more than you have in yourself. I'll repeat that. There's no greater gift in life than those who have to have people in your life that have more faith in you than you have in yourself. We can be so hard on ourselves, but we need people who surround ourselves with people who are connected with Krishna, who actually know our potential. So like when people are looking for a guru and they have many options and they have many gurus out there, the duty of a guru is actually to give the disciple, the student, a vision greater than they have for their own vision. That's actually one definition of guru. So the third thing that I will say is take a risk. Take the risk. Christopher Columbus said you can only find out what is in the horizon when you leave the shore. Hopefully the Christopher Columbus said that. I'll give you another. I'll give you an example that now that I'm thinking about it, Christopher Columbus, I think, spoke Spanish. I don't know if he'd say that. Work with me, guys. I'm trying. But I'll tell you, there is a famous explorer called Herman Cortez, I believe. He's one of the first explorers of America. I mean, how can you explore America when there was millions of people already living here? But we'll say for right now, he's an explorer. So this is actually true, that when they docked into America, his crew were so tired. You know what he made them do? He said a famous phrase. He said, "Burn the ships." And he made all of them burn the ships. Why would he do that? He said, I don't want you to go on this expedition without with no reservations, that we have a life back home. Take a risk. Take a leap of faith. Every great person who has done anything great in their life has always taken a risk. No one makes great progress in anything by just being chillaxing, So Krishna will appear in our lives if we allow him to appear. If we're not taking any risk, Krishna's like, okay, you don't need any help. You're good. I think you're good. But if we're always taking risk for Krishna, and if we're taking calculated risk, not like, I'm not saying like jump in front of a subway, Krishna save me. But if we take these risks and letting go, this conception of go of what you can and can't do, then actually Krishna will actually come and support you in that sense. And the last one, it's kind of bleak, it's kind of dark, but it's something monks that we're trained to, we always think about. And this is something that we think about not so much, but it's always kind of in the back, is death. All great saints, all great sages, always they think about death quite a bit, not in a morbid sense, but it puts things in life into perspective. It puts life into real perspective. Steve Jobs, he said, he gave a famous quote. He said, "When I wake up, if today was my final day, and would I be doing what I was doing today? And if the answer was no for too many days in a row, then I know that things need to change." He said this in his Stanford address in 2004. It's very, very beautiful. So every day if we wake up and if we just think today's my last day on this planet, and would I be happy to that this was my last day by doing what I'm doing? And if the answer is no for too many days in a row, then maybe it's things need to change. So death is life's greatest change agent. Like when we're monks, the first lesson we get when we join the ashram, we have many meditations that we do. One of the meditations, the first thing we do is imagine your own funeral. If you close your eyes and just imagine my funeral, who is there, what are they saying, and what accomplishments have I done? And what have I actually lived my life for? And if we just meditate like this, I bet none of you have said, I wish I would have watched more Netflix. I wish I would have scrolled on TikTok a bit more. I wish I don't know what else is there to do. Nowadays it's just Netflix and TikTok. I wish I watched more Instagram or YouTube Reels, None of you said that, probably. I hope not. But if you just think about it, at the end of our lives, what are these little things that, like a famous saint in our tradition says, who cares what he said or she said? We're here for 100 years. Get serious about your lives. Like what he said to me or she said to me, in the short run, it's going to make me feel one way. And that I'm not invalidating those feelings. But in the long term, what is the impact of what we have to live for? Then we start thinking about those things. So the solution, I say, is be Krishna confident. Krishna confidence means be quiet confident with humility. Being Krishna confidence means with humility. If I move with Krishna's plan, if I move with the divine in mind, then actually, and if I'm just an instrument in his or her hands, then I can be the most confident person in this world. So if you have this level of confidence, then actually you can do such miraculous things. You see how you're empowered by doing so many things. So I think that's what I have to conclude with, is by just being an instrument and of higher will, life becomes quite amazing. And I've experienced that, and I hope you all will experience that divine intervention. So thank you so much for tolerating me. It takes a lot, I know. But does anybody have any questions or comments that I can help with? I hope to make this kind of a discussion, Does anybody have any comments, questions, reflections, anything you're taking home with you? Love to hear it. Why don't you, rock, paper, scissors. I'm just kidding. You can go first.
Is self-worth similar to confidence? And if it's something different, how do you put Krishna consciousness into working on your self-worth?
Mm. So is self-worth the same as Krishna confident? I believe yes, because once you're actually confident in Krishna, then your self-worth is automatically there, whether you're confident or you're not. You actually, Krishna mentions this in the Gita in the second chapter. He's giving the qualities of a soul. You're not the body, you're the soul. If you start identifying with the soul, not the body, and that is actually incredible self-worth. We have as much independence and individuality as Krishna does. So that is definitely very hope-giving. And Krishna actually, when he describes the souls, he says, Matta paratam nanyat kinchit asti dhananjaya. He says all the souls are like pearls on a thread. And he says, I am the thread running in between. He could have used any other analogy, but he says pearl. And what is if you have anybody have a beautiful necklace? I have this necklace here. It's kind of like it's just wood. It's like a chain almost. But but a beautiful necklace that is made from actual pearls. What are the qualities of that of a beautiful necklace made out of pearls? Anybody can guess?
Valuable
It's valuable
and beautiful.
and beautiful. I would say, where are pearls found?
In the ocean.
In ocean, in oysters. So will it ever be that every pearl is the same? So if you look at a beautiful necklace made of real pearls, if you go to the Met, they actually have some real pearl necklaces. Every pearl is actually not the same. And if you ever try to tamper a pearl, it'll snap, it'll break. So because it's so precious.
And
They
they
have
start as an irritant also. It's like sand or something gets in the oysters.
yeah.
And then it creates this beautiful.
It creates this beautiful thing, you know? So if you look at a beautiful pearl necklace, not every single one is different, and how they're made and where they're found. And where are oysters found? Are they floating? Where are they? On the ocean floor. They're sitting on the ocean floor, so they're deep. So pearls on a thread is actually a very beautiful analogy for what a self-worth is. So I would say that they're synonymous. Working on yourself is being Krishna confident, as long as we're keeping Krishna's principles in mind. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm trying to apply it into practical life.
Okay.
It takes time for me to process.
Okay. We can definitely discuss more on how to kind of make it practical in that sense. Like, for example, in my life, if I'm just thinking, if I were to put something into practice, and if I use Krishna's guidance in my life, then I actually am like, oh, like when I need to take rest, like let's say I need more sleep, you know, monks are famously very sleep deprived. We go to sleep really late sometimes, like 9, 10, and we wake up by 3:45 in the morning. So some of them are sleep deprived. Now, if I take rest, if I'm just thinking about myself, then I would be like, oh, that's just gratifying of the senses. What did I do? Now, if I think that Krishna has given me this body as a vehicle to use for service, then I'm like, okay, I got to take care of my car. You can't say, oh, that's just a car. I'm not going to take care of it. This material. But Krishna's given me legs. Krishna's given me eyes. A lot of people don't have that. Let me take care of this one body that I've been given. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Kind of a more practical lens. Okay. Any other questions, comments? Yes? Prana?
What is the best way to remove doubts, like when you're making a decision and to be confident, Krishna confident in that decision?
So I personally, what I use is a 3-pronged system of removing doubt. So if I go to somebody who knows a little bit more about life, who knows a little bit about spirituality, who knows a little bit about this. So I go to the books first of all, because I want to see what Krishna has to say about my problem. So I read the Gita, I read some other books. Second, I go to friends who kind of know me, know my proclivities, and I go to friends, not just people who are glazers, as I say them, who will just kind of like gratify my ego. When they see BS, they'll call out my BS. Like, okay, you're just being lazy. And I love people like that who can just be like cutting, you know, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer, you know? I not your enemies, but people who can call out your weaknesses, you know? I believe that that's really powerful. So friends, scriptures, I go to a guru or somebody who is very learned in scripture, and I place the problem in front of them, and I just say, okay, what do you think about this? Whether I like it or not, he's going to give his statement, or his or her statement. And then so I'm going to see how is practical that is to apply in my life.
And if you don't have guru, then scriptures and good friends.
And I would go to somebody who is more senior on the path than yourself.
Yeah.
Friends can be they can be more senior in the path than yourself, or they can be somebody like I'm friends with the guy hanging out at the street corner. You know, sometimes I talk to him. And he's like charging his phone at the Link NYC things. I'm like, hey, how are you doing? And then I just bring him some food. I bring him like a cookie every day, and he's like, how are you doing? Or like even the guy on Hoyt Skimmerhorn, if you go there, the guy who's out there like selling weed. I'm friends with that guy. That guy like edibles. I'm like, how are you doing? He's like, oh, great. You got a cookie for me? I'm like, yeah, I got a cookie for you. So friends can come from all the types, but having someone who is a senior on a spiritual path, I think is very good. Yeah,
We'll
it's,
go to that guy.
yeah.
Yeah.
If you have other questions, you can ask him maybe.
Yeah.
I know live life looking forward is easy to say, but a lot of us are stuck, particularly if you have really bad tragedies in the past lives or not recent past. It haunts you all the time.
Yeah.
And I know you can't change the past, but sometimes you do live in the past. It's not that easy to, give it away and
Yeah.
memories keep haunting. How
Yeah.
do you try to get over that?
So I think everybody's gone through some level of trauma or tragedy, some worse than others, and I think it's very important to just recognize that those things were there, but also I will kind of push and say that there is a way of looking back at the situation and always ask, what was I supposed to learn from this? Like even the most for example, Krishna speaks the whole Bhagavad Gita. He speaks the whole Gita, and the first thing that Krishna says in the Gita, you're not the body, you're the soul. Now, Arjuna, later on the battlefield, he goes and his son gets killed. Abhimanyu. He gets killed. Now, Arjuna's crying. Crying in front of Krishna. Krishna could have just immediately said, what are you doing? The first verse the first thing I taught you in the Gita was to not be attached to the body, be attached to the soul. The soul didn't die. He could have said that. But Krishna never said that. Krishna never said, he never berated Arjuna in any way. He kept reminding him that there's a battle to be fought, and many people are distressed with the son of your son dying, but he never kind of depreciated his sadness. So what I'm trying to say by this example is that these tragic things have happened to us, and they do have real trauma, but we must always keep going forward and asking, what was the lesson from that? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Thanks, Prabhu. Anything else?
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I love the message of confidence. I think it's beautiful, but not everyone, I'll speak for myself, I don't feel like I have a clear and illuminated path forward. I don't know where to go. I don't know where I'm called. And I wonder what value confidence is when you don't know where to go. And how do you go about answering that for yourself?
When I was 12, when I kind of was thinking about what I should do, and especially when I left college, I went to Ohio State. My parents were saying, you should go and become a lawyer. I was going to go to law school. I was practicing that, and I was just in my mind, I was just like, I can't be caught in the rat race. And I was just thinking, that I need to do something that I felt right for me, and I felt like becoming a monk. Actually, if you talk to some of the other monks, becoming a monk is one of the most hardest things, because you really you're leaving your family, you're leaving any traditional way of life. So I would say we're when I was in confusion, I can only speak from my perspective, and maybe someone else can give their perspective, is that for me, trying new things was always kind of was something that really helped me. Like the third point, taking a risk. Taking risks was very calculated. Risks was very, even some less calculated than I probably should have. Like when I was 19, I was just already fried out with college, and I'm just like, what do I do? I heard there was a monastery in New York City, so I took a train from Ohio all the way to New York City, and I didn't know anybody. and I took a subway. I'd never taken the subway, and I was like 18 or 19. I was scared. I landed at like 10 p.m. at night, and then I go to the ashram, and then the ashram, I'm knocking on the door, nobody's answering. It's like in the Bronx, and and I'm just like knocking on the door, and I'm like, what do I do? And I took these risks, and slowly, like a path opened up. So I think if you have even an inclination about, okay, I'm going to try to do a little bit more of whether it's in spirituality, whether it's in your career, whether in this, like many people come to me and they're like, I have a side hobby that's like, I really want to make my career. Like many people are like, okay, quit your day job and go directly to directly to side business. I'm more of the path that, okay, you have your hobby, build your hobby more and more until you can make it sustainable financially, emotionally, all this stuff. And when your side hobby becomes bigger than your day job, then make that switch rather than do the cutting method. To make a long story short, I'm just saying that even if you have an inclination, try to make steps to going towards that. Like when I write Christina's our master journaler here. She can give you 1,000 tips on journaling. But one thing that I do that when I journal is now when I make affirmations, I don't leave the page until I've made steps to reach that affirmation. Like if I want to get to 2 hours of meditation a day, how am I going to pave that like different sections of my life so that I can make time for that? Is that kind of a little helpful? Okay, thank you so much. We have been out of time for a while, so I'll stop speaking and we'll just do maybe a little bit of kirtan. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Is that okay with you, Saifka?
Yes.
Okay. She's my boss. So we'll do a little bit of kirtan and then we have a great dinner for all of you. So let's all stand up and put our cushions to the side. We can get things moving. Thanks so much. Grab some dinner on the way out.